Hello guys, welcome to this Cambridge English Advanced video course. In this lesson we're going to be focusing on the course format of the reading paper. So firstly, let's have a look at some general information about the exam. There are 4 papers in the C1 Advanced or CAE exam, but really there's about 5 sections, because this first paper, the Reading and Use of English, it's effectively 2 different sections. And so it counts for 40% of the overall marks. And then you have listening, writing and speaking, which all count for 20% of the marks. And if you want to, you should pause this video now and have a read of these in a bit more detail to familiarize yourself with the exam. But I'm going to continue and move on to looking in a bit more detail at the Reading and Use of English paper. So remember, these 2 sections are put together into one paper, and this paper in total lasts 90 minutes. There are 8 different parts in this exam paper. Parts 1 to 4 are Use of English, and parts 5 to 8 are Reading. So it's parts 5 to 8 that we're going to be focusing on in the rest of this video course. There are 56 questions in total, but only 26 of these questions are in the reading paper. The other 30 questions are in the Use of English paper. And the final bit of advice is that you write your answers in pencil on a separate answer sheet. So you have the question paper and then you have an answer sheet. You have to write your answers on the answer sheet in pencil. Okay, let's have a look at the different question types in the reading paper. So in part 5, we have multiple choice, where you have 4 different options to choose from. There are 6 questions, and each question is awarded 2 marks. So there are 12 marks in total. In part 6, this is called the cross-text multiple matching. There are 4 questions, and again each question is awarded 2 marks. So there are 8 marks in total in part 6. And in part 7, this is a gapped text, there are 6 questions and there are 2 marks available again for each question. So there are 12 marks in total. I advise you, when you're practicing by yourself, to try and understand if there is one part of this exam paper, which you find easier. And to start, when you're in the exam, start with that exam paper. Because if you find it easier, or you complete it more quickly, then you're going to get more marks for it. So complete that part of the exam before doing another part of the exam. And there's a really useful quick tip for you. And finally we have part 8, which is multiple matching. There are 10 questions in this part, and each question is awarded 10 marks. So just 1 mark for every question in part 8, which is different to part 5, 6 and 7. So let's have a look at part 5, multiple choice close, in a bit more detail. How many questions are there in part 5? There are 6. How many texts do you need to read? Just 1 text. And how many options can you choose from? You can choose from 4 options. It is a multiple choice task. Part 6 is called cross-text multiple matching. How many questions are there in part 6? There are 4 questions. How many texts do you need to read? 4 different texts. And how many options can you choose from? 4 different options. So it looks like this. It's a bit more complicated than part 5. So we can see it here. A, B, C and D, 4 different passages. And then you have 4 questions, 37, 38, 39 and 40. And we need to decide which text applies to which question. Okay, so for each question it could be A, or it could be B, or it could be C, or it could be D, and you need to choose which one it is. Then, part 7 is called gapped text. How many missing paragraphs are there in this text? Because this is the idea, you need to take one of these paragraphs, which you can see here, and to put it at a certain point in the text. And how many gaps are there in the text? Well, there are 6 gaps in the text. How many texts do you need to read? Just one text with 6 gaps in it. And how many options can you choose from to fill in the gaps? There are 7 options in total. So you can see here there are 7 paragraphs, but there are only 6 gaps in the text. So one of these paragraphs you do not need to use. Part 8, multiple matching. How many questions are there in part 8? There are 10 questions. How many texts do you need to read? You either have one long text or 4 or 5 smaller texts. And how many options can you choose from? You have 4 or 5 options to choose from, because if it's just one passage, it will be split into 4 or 5 sections, or possibly it will be 4 or 5 smaller separate passages. Okay, and we are going to look in more detail at how we do and what each of these sections looks like in the following video lessons, because there will be a video lesson on part 5, a video lesson on part 6, a video lesson on part 7, and a video lesson on part 8. So if it's a bit confusing at the moment, don't worry, just watch the lesson on part 5 and everything will become clearer and easier. So here's a very quick tip for you. Always write an answer. Even if you don't know the answer, write something down. Because you can't lose marks for doing this, you can only gain marks for doing this. So it's a great bit of advice. And in the next lesson, we'll be looking at part 5 in more detail, which is the multiple choice close. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next lesson.